Bird, thank you very much. Chris Shear and Devin Harris back here in our Yes Network studios. Kevin Durant, he fouled out with 1:54 left in this game, but that smile tells us all that the Nets have just won 9 in a row. Even with KD on the bench, Cavs got a little dicey. Cavs cut it down to 4, Devin, but the Nets pull this out and have their 9th straight win.
Yeah, I think they got a little bit complacent when they got up 19. Shot selection changed a little bit. They started forcing some shots, didn't really need to. But this team is on a streak. When you're on a streak, you learn how to win games no matter what the circumstances is. Kevin Durant fouls out. They get enough stops to win the game. And this team is showing that it's really starting to learn and trust one another. And defensively, rebound the ball. Everybody's locked in. And you have guys that you don't expect. T.J. Warren with 23 points off the bench, especially with, Seth out as well as Joe Harris. So they continue to have guys to step up and play big for them.
How often do you see that, Devin, where a team takes a little while to gel? You have to remember, there's a lot of new pieces to this Nets club, so it's not too weird that this team has taken this long to get where they are.
No, and they've had a lot of controversy going on, a coaching change as well. So, and you got a player in Ben Simmons that they're trying to incorporate in as well. So, a lot of moving parts, but they got the right voice now. Everybody's kind of locked in, and everybody's playing for one another.
All right, this is their 9th straight win, Devin. So let's take a look now at the franchise winning streaks. Now, this is the longest winning streak that the team has had in Brooklyn. That's 9 straight from December 7th to now. They had 14 back in 2004 and 2006. Those are the franchise's NBA longest winning streaks. But this is 9, and, Devin, you played. I mean, when you're going as well as they're going right now, is there something in the locker room? We see it on the floor, but is there a bonding that goes on when this is happening?
There's a bonding, there's a trust factor. You found a recipe for success. Defensively, attention to detail. Offensively, the ball's moving. We saw Kyrie get off to an awful start, right? And then, like that, second quarter, he goes off. Kevin Durant has been steady this entire time. They got other guys that are chipping in that know their roles and playing them to a T. We're talking about Claxton with the big block. We got T.J. Warren coming off the bench. Watanabe's shooting the 3 really well. So they got other guys playing their roles to perfection, and then the stars are playing up to their natural level.
Your key to the game was assists. We also talked about rebounding as well. I alluded to the fact in the pregame show that Jacques Vaughn showed these guys their rebounding statistics in November, and that really flipped the switch. I mean, Kevin Durant said that these guys got upset. What does that say to you, that the players got upset and this has turned?
It shows that they care and they understand that this small detail will be, can be a difference between winning and losing. And they play small, so rebounding it has to be a group effort. It's not just one guy that they can depend on. It's an everybody problem. And you can just tell when the ball goes up, you see everybody attention detail, looking around, hitting guys, going to get the rebound. That's important because then it gives them a chance to go to the other end and play to what they normally play on the offensive end.
And we heard one of the big stars of tonight's game, T.J. Warren, with 23 points, tell Megan Triplett, unity.
Yes.
Staying together, that's going to be one of the keys. And the guy at the top of the food chain there, the head of the snake, if you will, Kevin Durant, he had another unbelievable game before he fouled out.
Yeah, I mean, just keeping it simple right here against the zone, fighting the soft spot, hitting a nice jump shot right here in rhythm. You can't leave this guy open at any point in time on the 3-point line. And another swing against the zone, too. I mean, zone buster. This team really understands where to find him. And then once he gets hot, he starts hitting shots like these, and then, you can just call it a night. Another 30-point effort for him. And, when he gets the matchup, no matter who's out on the other end, he's going to win it, 90% of the time. And when we get in his rhythm, he can just start toying with him. He hits his pull-up right here, gives Jared a little smile. And, and then you really do about that.
Well, he entered tonight's game, Devin, 12 points away from tying Tim Duncan. He surpassed him now. He's 15th on the all-time scoring list. Now, if he's healthy, let's be realistic here. He could catch Hakeem. He may even catch Elvin Hayes if he plays enough minutes and if he keeps having games like this. I mean, he could be in the top 10 starting next year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think before he's said and done, I don't know if he'll be able to catch Dirk in top 6, but he'll be, somewhere in that, 6 to 8 range.
But definitely in the top 10.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
yes.
yes. Because he's almost there now. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say, Devin, that, I said Durant's the head of the snake.
Yes.
Then that's kind of have a two-headed snake.
They have a two-headed snake,
Yeah.
and it's any given night, and they play so well off one another, and they understand, okay, like I said, your turn, my turn. And normally that system doesn't really work. We saw it with Boston where they really struggled last year because they couldn't find a unity type of situation. But these guys understand, like, hey, and Kevin Durant's more than willing to give Kyrie the chance to be successful and give him a chance to handle the ball and make the shots.
It's the perfect yin and yang situation. And tonight we saw that when KD fouled out, Kyrie really took control of the team. But before that, I mean, he just went off. He went off in the second quarter. He went off in the first minute and 47 seconds of the fourth quarter, Devin. He scored 8 points. 8 of the first, Nets 11 points in that fourth quarter.
You know, it's all about for him. He's a rhythm player. So, you know, whenever he gets a rhythm, he didn't really have it in the first quarter, but once he sees a few shots go in, you know, he can start making shots all over the floor, and you know, there's no spot that he can't get to. And once he's in this type of zone, like I said, he can go off 8, 10, 14 points in a quarter, and there's nothing really you can do about it. He can score in bigs. Same size guys he can post up. He can create separation. I mean, like I said, it's a perfect match to Kevin Durant because they both can score in similar ways, and once one gets double teamed, it opens up the other floor for the other guys.
Last 7 games, he's scoring 30 points per game. Now, I remember you came over from Dallas to the New Jersey Nets.
Yes.
And then you played Dallas, and you dropped 41.
Yes.
It has to still resonate with Kyrie that he's back in Cleveland, does it not?
It does. And anytime you play against your old team, you know, a team that he's won a championship with, he's going to want to play well and, you know, be aggressive. And you could just tell, like, you know, you want to win the game. Regardless of how you play and what numbers you put up, winning the game is the point. And to show that, hey, like, I'm in a better spot, I'm in a good place. Even though Cleveland is up and coming, you know, they have another young point guard who scored 40 tonight, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, the win is the best.
And the Nets, with this win, they leapfrog another team. They are now the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference after just a month ago, back on November 26th, being tied for 10th. We're going to step aside, take our first break here on the post-game show. Nets win 125-117 over the Cavs. We're going to get thoughts from head coach Jacques Vaughn, his thoughts with the media on his team's 9th straight victory. We'll also take a look at some out-of-town highlights, and we'll get some player reaction from Megan Triplett as well. It's all coming up right here on Yes, and streaming, of course, on the Yes app.
The Nets post-game show on Yes is brought to you in part by the New York Lottery. Get out there and play.
Mentioned it before the break. The Nets, with the win, leapfrog the Cavaliers for the 3 seed. They are now just a half game behind the Bucks. They just defeated on Friday, and just 2 games back of the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics. We take a look now at the highlights tonight out in Cleveland, where the Nets handled the Cavaliers by 8 points. Got a little dicey down the stretch, but the Nets hold on. First quarter, Nets down by 2. Ben Simmons driving to the net, hooks it in, and the game would be tied at 7 early. Early on in the game, Royce O'Neal was a difference maker.
Yeah, he's been instrumental in what they're doing right here. Kyrie off the tip, and the throwback to Royce. Anytime you get an easy dunk, that helps the jump shots flow a little bit easier.
Later in the quarter, Kevin Durant with the inbounds pass. More O'Neal. He drains a long 3 there. Nets lead 24-12. And then how about KD? Seconds left in the first quarter. The ball's going to get worked around to him after a little scramble here.
Do you take this one too early? I'm Kevin Durant. I'm going to take it. I'm going to defy the laws of basketball right here, but big shot right there in the quarter.
There you go. Missed by Durant. Jared Allen grabs the board, moves it up to Isaac Okoro, passes it up to Jetty Osman, who drives in for the flush. Cavs down by 5. Donovan Mitchell, who was held in check. Ben Simmons did a great job on him defensively, Devin.
Yeah, I mean, keeping him out of the paint, forcing tough threes, but he made a tough float over the top. I think this play right here is what got Kyrie Irving going right here. Wide open 3 with his feet set, and that after he hit that shot, he was off and running.
And that came off the double team of Kevin Durant. Here's Kyrie for 3. 18-4 run by the Nets to end the half. They're up 64-47. Third quarter, Lamar Stevens misses on the layup. Jared Allen there for the follow. Cavs down by 10. Moments later, it's Kevin Durant again.
When you play zone, you have to know what number 7 is. For this reason alone, you can't let him get a wide open look from the wing.
Next up, we talked about the big man battle between Nick Claxton and Jared Allen. And Nick Claxton Nice move there. Gets it off glass to go. Nets on a roll. Cavs turn the ball over. And Yuta Watanabe passes it to Ed Sumner. And as Ian Eagle said, it was a Sumner slam. Nets up 89-75. Fourth quarter, O'Neal connects with Watanabe, who sinks the corner three. Nets up 105-98.
He knows his role well. I stick in the corner. That's why.
I'll just hang here. You guys get me the ball. There is T.J. Warren. He floats it in. Nets up by 18 later in the quarter. Darius Garland driving to the net. Hits the floating jumper. He's the one who really kept the Cavs in this one.
Yeah, he kept them going, with variety, threes, getting to the paint. He was the one that got Kevin in foul trouble. Nice finish with the floater.
Time winding down. Garland working. Hits another jumper. Cavs down by just 4, 121-117. Final seconds. Garland again moving towards the net. Tries to put it in. But what a block by Claxton there.
Timely possessions, timely stops, and that was a big one right there, getting the block. Great timing in a situation where they needed a stop really, really bad after Kevin fouled out.
And Royce O'Neal gets fouled there, and it would be academic, even though Kevin Durant fouls out with just under 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Game summary brought to you by Infinity, of course. It's the 5th time this season that KD and Kyrie have scored 30-plus points together. That ties Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for the most games by any duo this season. Moments ago, Jacques Vaughn met the media. Let's hear what the head coach had to say about Brooklyn's 9th straight victory. Here he is.
Hey, Jacques, you guys were able to build that lead, and the Cavs kept going on those runs, but how would you just describe how you guys were able to respond every single time?
Yeah, it's great to see from the group. Just our response. We talked about it. They were going to make runs, which they did. It's a good basketball team that we played against. But our shot making tonight was extreme level, especially from three. That put a lot of pressure on them. I thought we played with a good amount of pace, over 20 fast break points. So all the things that we talked about at the beginning of the game, we were able to focus on and get accomplished.
Then how would you describe how you guys were able to kind of pick apart their defense and the looks they gave you?
Yeah, I think it started with our pace. For us to get early opportunities, early looks before the defense set. Then we had stops. We got stops defensively. We took advantage of some lesser shooters at times to crowd the paint and to rebound the basketball. Then off we go in transition. So nicely done by our group tonight.
What kind of a lift did TJ give you?
Yeah, great lift. Yeah, Brian. Great lift. He just has a knack of scoring the basketball. It's amazing. He'll get it. Some of the toughest shots, 6-footer, a little bump in the finish. He shot the three ball. I think he had 2 threes at halftime for us. So when he's doing that, it just gives us flexibility to playing with both groups, which you saw. Finish the game, which you saw. So good to see him, adding up some game and adding up some minutes.
Jacques, you were saying before the game you thought the key to all this was getting the focus on basketball again. How did you guys do it?
Oh, Nick, I am a simple person and really tried to keep things simple. And so really stressed what was going to be beneficial for our team. And whether that was the amount of time we spent in shoot-arounds, the amount of time we shaved and kept our guys fresh in order to give an extreme amount of effort when we play. And that was kind of the goal, and we created a little momentum that way. We stripped our playbook down a little bit. We are simple what we do, try to stress defensively. 3 common things. I won't, say what those are, but really common that we can go game to game and make a small adjustment and have our guys play extremely free of mind. And I think there's something important to that if you're going to ask your guys to play hard.
How much of that is getting rid of all the stuff that was going on off the floor as well?
It was without a doubt as part of it, and we stressed that when we came back as a group, we kind of pledged to each other that it was going to be about basketball and hopefully not let anything interfere, any outside noise interfere with that. And our guys have done an unbelievable job of protecting each other and making this thing about basketball.
When you said when you came back as a group, are you talking November 1st when you got it, or you're talking when Kyrie came back?
I think our shoot-around in Washington was kind of the precipice of that, and me getting up in front of the group and being as vulnerable as I could be and explaining the situation and really telling them that I'm going to try to be as consistent as I possibly can with you every day and as honest as I can, and I'm going to always do what's best for the group. And guys really appreciate that, I think, and have really grown to understand it, understand our ways, and we really create an atmosphere of basketball.
The distractions that you've been able to eliminate for the better part of 2 months are things that have followed this franchise every year for years. Do you have to approach it as though you are trying to keep these things out of your locker room for an entire season?
I don't think we make it as complex as that, because then you're looking too far ahead. I think we can try to anticipate some things. A good coach always tries to do that. But I think overall, it really is that simple, that each day we're trying to gather as a team and think how can we get better. I don't think I burden the guys with extras, not for my sake, for it to look prettier than it is. It is as simple as we're going to try to get a win that day, and not going to change that anytime soon.
Jock, you mentioned before the game a lot of conversation was about Jared Allen and him going up against Nick and then Ben having to help. How are you guys able to kind of disrupt him offensively? I know he still had a double-double and got the rebounds, but how are you guys able to kind of disrupt him?
Yeah, I think we took advantage of some matchups that we liked as far as when the basketball was in our hand, whether it was I think their rotations were a little different that we forced tonight because of our ability to score the basketball. And so that put pressure on them. I think we were the aggressors and kind of dictated on both ends of the floor, which give credit to our guys for doing that.
Thanks, Fizzy.
All right, guys.
Thoughts from Jacques Vaughn there. And, the reporters were asking him about the off-court issues earlier in the season. I want to spin it to how he has taken the reins of this team and really brought everybody to a halt and then has everybody moving forward now. Just how has it been with Jacques Vaughn running things?
Sometimes when a coaching change, the voice is different. Everybody sorts to lock in. And he's coming in, he's simplifying things. Watching this team last year and the beginning of this year from the defensive end of the floor, there was no trust. You beat one guy, they're going for a layup. Now they're helping one another. There's a trust factor there. His voice is resonating through the locker room, and he's keeping things simple, and they're just trying to win the day. They're not looking too far in the future, just one game at a time, one practice at a time. And, coming from San Antonio's, coaching structure, I mean, he's learned a lot. They have that kind of backbone within their organization, and they're taking that and implementing it into this system right now, and it's working really well.
And what do you think it means to the players with a coach that, if just as an example, Kyrie Irving kind of blew him off on a play call. He called timeout, and he benched him, and the game went on. And also, he's actually, if things aren't going well, he lets them play through it now to a point, and then he will call a timeout. But what does that mean for the players around, like, when they see Kyrie getting benched, after he blows off his head coach? That has to mean something to the rest of the team, does it not?
Well, it's accountability.
Yeah.
Being able to hold, if you can hold your best players.
That word has been brought up a lot.
100%.
Yeah.
If you hold your best players to accountability, everybody else has to fall in line. And they had to make it a big thing. He was like, I'm going to do what's best for the group. And if you hold that true, nobody really can complain about anything because nobody's bigger than the team. And if you do that with your best players, I mean, they've done it. Tim Duncan, you see Pop going at him all the time. If he can yell at Tim Duncan, he can yell at anybody else. And, it's a similar type structure. And once you do that, everybody else just kind of falls in line.
I think Pop yells at everybody, though.
He does.
He even yells at sideline reporters, for crying out loud. We're going to step aside, take another break here on the Nets postgame show. They beat the Cavs by 8 to leapfrog them into the 3rd position in the Eastern Conference. Devin and I have more right here in our Yes Network studios and on the Yes app. Next. From the Nets and Cavs, including our key to the game, 3-point shooting. Brooklyn hit, as Ian Eagle said, I'll use his word, a scintillating 60% of its attempts from long range, going 18 for 30, while the Cavaliers barely shot over 36% from downtown. Chris Shear and Devin Harris back here in our Yes Network studios. The Nets win 125-117 over the Cavs out in Cleveland, one of the best home teams in the NBA, and the Nets went in there and absolutely destroyed them. It got close late, but since starting 1-5 this season, Devin, they're 21-7. Of course, they've won 9 straight, and we were talking about it on the pregame show how Kevin Durant has confidence in the players around him. And tonight, coming off the bench, T.J. Warren was one of those guys.
Yeah, we're seeing, what T.J. was before his injury. He was a scoring machine and, a highly efficient way, getting to the three-point line, which he's improved. He's always been able to get into the paint and score. His floater is his best shot. But if they can get this type of production from him off the bench, along with Kyrie and Kevin to start the game, then you put him in with Seth and with Joe Harris and the shooting and the spacing is going to be, this team's going to be really, really dangerous. But, when they signed him, they really didn't know how productive he was going to be coming off those 2 years of foot injuries. But like I said, if he can get back to form this way, this team's going to be really, really dangerous.
The entire Cavs bench scored 28 points combined. T.J. Warren had 23 points in 27 minutes of work, 9 of 14 from the field, 2 of 4 from downtown, and 8 boards. It was a season-high 23 points. Now, look, as you mentioned, he might have his peaks and valleys, but what Jacques Vaughn is getting out of him right now, and does he take pressure, a little pressure off Royce O'Neal as well?
Yeah, you don't have to play him as much, and you could put, you could put the ball in TJ's hands. He's a natural scorer. Roy pretty much needs somebody to create shots for him, and when you take one guy out, one superstar out, whether it's Kevin or Kai, you put TJ in, now you have another guy, another scoring threat out there that they have to respect, that keeps the floor open and lets it free moving.
Another thing that we're seeing, Devin, as well, is that when KD does take a break, usually at the start of the second quarter, start of the fourth quarter, we're seeing the Nets continue to play. Yeah.
Increase the lead.
Exactly. A couple, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were seeing that lead decrease when he hit the bench, but now it's been consistent.
Yeah, and that allows, Jacques to continue to rest him in his normal minutes. As you start to see his minutes start to creep up, you're worried about, wins and losses. Now, like, okay, you can take a breath, take another minute because, guys are doing what they're supposed to do. The role players are playing to a T. We're talking about Watanabe and his three-point shooting, especially from the corner. He knows his role. He's like, I just stay out of the way and I wait in the corner, and when the ball comes to me, I shoot it. And there's no better way to have a role like that. And everybody's kind of locked into what they're doing.
What is he shooting? Corner threes?
70%, 68, 70% from three in the corners.
Unbelievable. And Royce O'Neal came out of the gates tonight. The way he left the Bucks game on Friday, 10 quick points, and he was playing D tonight too as well.
And sometimes when you play your best friend, you know what they're going to do. Some anticipation right there. And this is how he gets his night started with a nice two-hand flush. And once you see the ball go through, now you step right into a rhythm, his three-point shot, which he's been lights out from lately. Defense falls asleep. You get another one right here, and he's off and running right now and playing extremely well.
Yeah, late closeout there by Garland, and he was able to nail that three. Royce O'Neal, his last 4 games, 13 points. I mean, like you said to me in a break, I don't think he's going to continue to shoot 68% from the field and 67% from 3. But this is also something you've repeated all night as well, and you have to say it again, and that's the fact Kevin Durant is going to get guys open looks.
Yes.
It's the fact that they are hitting those open looks now.
Well, that's what shooters do. They're going to continue to shoot it at a high rate. But if you get wide open looks, which these guys are going to get, and if they continue to send 2 guys at Kevin, and they play great offense on the backside. You understand when they cut. You got Ben Simmons, who's normally orchestrating offense in the middle of the floor. He's, seeing over the defense, and those guys, will continue to get open shots. Now, will they shoot, 60 and 70%? No, they won't. But, and looking at their averages, 40%, that's going to get it done.
What about doing it against the most highly rated defense in the NBA tonight? They were giving up only 104.9 points per game. They scored $125 tonight. I mean, this is a statement game. I know it's only December, but can you make the argument that this is a statement game?
100%, and especially with a team that's above you in the standings. And yes, they're a good defensive team, but guess what? You're playing against a top 2 offensive team, so something has to give. And we showed why they're so good offensively, why they're so efficient. They got 2 of the most efficient players out there in Kyrie and Kevin. And now you got guys like Royce O'Neal shooting 67%. You got T.J. Warren giving you 23 points in 27 minutes. And it's all efficient. They're not missing many shots. And anytime you shoot 60% from 3, you're going to win most games.
Yeah, pretty much. We're going to step aside after the... Take a look at the best records in the league since November 17th, and it's your Brooklyn Nets at 16-3. A little known fact too, Devin. Only 5 times in their NBA history have the Nets won 16 out of 19 games, and they've all come in this century, and this year is just the latest year. We talked about Jacques Vaughn and when he took over and what he's meant to this team. What do you think has been the key to this turnaround here?
I think, their attention to detail on the defensive end of the floor. They have a structure now. You heard him talking about the 3 things. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but this is what I'm asking these guys to do. And depending on the team, they can make small adjustments off those 3, non-negotiables. And you see the guys are attentive. The defense is there. They're locked into, the game plan, and everybody is giving effort. Defense is a want to, not a have to. And now we're seeing everybody, offensively, they're going to score. We've seen how good they are, how great they are. But when you tend to be great in the playoffs is how you defend. And if they can continue to do it at this rate, they're going to be right there where they want to be. All
right, Devin, we're going to listen to Kevin Durant now. He met the media moments ago. Let's see what KD had to say about this 9th straight victory.
Kevin, against the best, statistically, the best defense in the league, for you guys to perform that way offensively, what were the keys?
Individually, just being fundamentally sound on your shots, taking good shots, taking efficient shots, and not forcing things. I think that's what we continue to do that all night, find our shots individually, and they were happen to go in. So, but I think defensively we were on one string all night.
Kevin, there's been a discussion today, kind of around this team. Even JB, Cavs coach, mentioned it as well. That it seems like the focus here has solely been on basketball. And it's quieter for a team that isn't used to that. Do you feel it? Does it feel quieter and easier than it has been around here in a while?
To be honest, I think we've always been about ball. I think no disrespect to what you guys do. I just think the outside noise from the media and the fans just make it seem like we don't care about the game or we are not focused on the task ahead. But I thought we always been that way. It's a fact that you don't have much to talk about outside of the game. So that's not adding to the discussion around our team. So many voices. Everybody has a platform. So many voices. Speaking on what we do inside our locker room when they don't really have an idea. I think that's the noise that you hear. But from us, we always been about the game. We struggled early on. I'm not saying we didn't struggle, but we always were focused on playing basketball. I think the other people were trying to look for stuff, to put on our team, label our team, whatever. I know the Kyrie stuff may be what you're talking about, but I felt like we always been about the game, all of us.
Kevin, to that point, did you feel like the group, after all that stuff, needed to refocus itself together?
I felt like we always been focused. I felt like we don't even talk about some of the stuff that may have been loud around our team. Like, I had so many friends. It's like, yo, Kay, you all right, man? What's going on? Like, man, there's so much craziness going on with y'all, but I'm go to work and go home. Like, there's more noise on the outside for us, to be honest, and it's been like that since day one. But what we did was simplify both ends of the basketball, shored up our roles individually. Coach shored up our roles, is pretty much letting us know each day what he needs from us, and I think that's been the focus, So it's not like, man, finally we got the noise out of our locker room and now we can play. I just think we always been locked in on basketball and trying to help get this thing back on track.
You passed Tim Duncan tonight, 15th on the all-time scoring list. Is that the kind of thing that you take a moment to notice or to appreciate? And if so, what does it mean to you to get there?
Yeah, most definitely. You want to just show up every day, but at some point you got to celebrate some small wins, just like a win tonight. It's cool to celebrate that with your team. So in my career, to be able to, pass an all-time great legend, like somebody who shifted and changed the game, is something that I'll call my folks about tonight and talk over and just reminisce on the time, how we got here, So it's pretty cool to do stuff like that, and I want to celebrate those small things, but, keep pressing forward. I know I got more to do.
Kevin, now that you've had a chance to see the Cavaliers this year, how are they different from last year's playing team? Obviously, the addition of Mitchell, but just in specifically, how have they grown and matured here this season?
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell is the main key to that. He's probably the main reason why they took this leap. But it's also a year experience, a year playing together. Continuity in this league is underrated. So much movement in free agency and coaches, and so much movement in these organizations from top to bottom. It's good to have some continuity, and when you see guys you've been with for a couple years, it just makes you more comfortable on the floor. So you see that, but on top of all of that, Donovan Mitchell is the key to this change for this team, and it's the reason why you look at them as contenders at this point. He's just such a dynamic player since the moment he stepped into the league. So for you to get him, he's the reason why things have changed.
Fox came up with two of the biggest stops at the end, got the tie up on Mitchell and then the block on Darius. Defensively, obviously, he's had the impact he's had, but even offensively, both ends. How have you seen him grow over the last few years?
Just gaining more confidence. He's always been a confident player, but you couple that confidence with understanding of the game and trusting in your work. I think that's the reason why he's here. Coaching staff been patient with his development since he got drafted, and he's going out there and wanting to be great. And I think that's a tough journey to being relied upon every night, being consistent, and then just that longevity. I think that's what he wants to get to as a player, is consistently doing this every day for 15 years. So that's what he's thinking about, and it's cool to see it kind of unravel at this point. But he knows he got a long ways to go. We have a long ways to go as a team, so we can't get complacent at this point.
Take a look at our stat of the night. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, 5 games this season, both scoring 30 or more points. Ties the most by any duo in the NBA. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, very impressive. And, he alluded to the fact that there's outside noise, and the media creates that. And, he said we never lost focus. I mean, you were in this market. You know how the media can get, especially here. I mean, there's a lot of truth to what Kevin Durant just said, and they appear to be fine right now.
Yeah, I mean, anytime there's outside noise, especially in the New York media, it doesn't necessarily affect inside the locker room. Those guys are tied in. You deal with guys on a daily basis, and there's trust there. So you try not to let anything divide you, regardless of the situation that's going on. And the task at hand is basketball, winning the day, winning games. And I think they've always been focused on that, regardless of the craziness that's been happening the last 2 years. But when you have a steady leader like Kevin to go out and he doesn't really talk, go out there and does his job at a high level, it's easy to follow suit.
That's it. He leads by example. He goes out, he plays his game, and everybody just falls into place. Nick Claxton is one of those guys. He had another great game, and he had one of the biggest plays at the end on Darius Garland with the block. But the matchup with him and Jared Allen was one we were going to look at during this one, and it was really Claxton who showed out tonight, Devin.
Yeah, he was great on both ends of the floor, understanding where to be, showing his ability to finish right or left-handed, understanding the right spots. When you have a shot blocker like Allen, you have to be available for your teammates in the right spot of penetration. We saw those spots, and then obviously the 2 huge blocks late, showing that his development is continuing to grow on the defensive end of the floor. And like Kevin said, he's working hard to be great. He's understanding the game now, and in addition to his ability, and we're seeing him just really being more consistent and being held accountable on a nightly basis.
10 points on 5 of 9 shooting moments ago. Nick spoke with the media. Let's hear him right now.
Nick, describe what it took to pull out this one against this Cavaliers team that kept coming back and going on runs.
I mean, they were pretty resilient, especially Garland. He really got going really throughout the whole game. But we just had to weather the storm, stick to the game plan, and it's just, that's been our thing these last few games.
And sticking to the game plan, Jared Allen was a big part of that game plan. Jock Vaughn just said you guys were able to exploit some of those mismatched matches. What did you see that allowed you guys to kind of disrupt Jared Allen's offensive flow?
Just being solid. I mean, I got a lot of experience playing against him, in the past. So just being solid, and it's a team effort, especially with guys that's really crashing the glass like that. And we just, all 5 guys, we did a good job, and we have a lot of length. So a lot of times it's harder for big guys to really get going.
And to see TJ get going, coming off of the bench, what did you think of his performance tonight?
I just told him, good work. He hit some tough shots, some timely shots that we really needed, and we're gonna need that from him going forward, especially in games like this. And when the offense can be a little stagnant, having another guy that can go out there and create is big for us.
You told me the other night that the statement that this team is making during this winning streak is that you're coming for everybody. Now Jock told us that the message is to continue that even on the road. How do you build off of this and continue that momentum as you guys get ready for a couple more road games?
Yeah, I mean, the best teams can win wherever, like at home, on the road, and you got to be consistent. I think for us, our staple should be really just defense. We just stick to our defense. The offense, I always believe it'll take care of itself. We got a lot of guys that can score, a lot of shooters. So the road games, they're always fun, especially here. It was a good atmosphere, but we did a great job tonight.
This road game used to be home for Kyrie Irving. When we come back, we'll get the thoughts from Mr. Irving on his team's 9th straight win. That's next right here on Yes, and streaming, of course, on the Yes app. In our Yes Network studios, the Nets win 125-117, their 9th consecutive victory. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant combined for 64 points. They each score 32. And moments ago, Kyrie Irving talking with the media. We hear those thoughts right now.
Kyrie, what do you think is clicking so well right now for this group?
Just playing some great basketball, trusting each other.
For this game, when the Cavs were going on those runs, you guys constantly had a response. Was there anything that changed, or what did you see that allowed you guys to constantly kind of fight back?
Just staying poised.
Clax had two of the biggest plays there at the end with the stop on and then the block on Darius. Just over the last few years, what have you seen from his development and the confidence that he's obviously had grown?
I think you said it, just that confidence, and knowing that, he's a big piece for us, and we need him every night.
Kyrie, you mentioned being back in Cleveland. You sent out that tweet yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
When you do come back to Cleveland and you touch down and then you play in this arena, what memories come rushing back to you?
I think a bunch. Had my first draft workout here, my only draft workout. The amount of pressure I was putting on myself coming in after the prodigal son of LeBron James leaves. And I have to take on the ropes after that, and who knows if I was ever going to live up to that billing. But I put that pressure on myself to fill some shoes that were never meant for me. I just wanted to create my own legacy. And in order to do that, I had to endure some rough years where we only had a few thousand people in the stands. And I was kind of feeling that at times going home, feeling like a lone ranger or a lone superhero, trying to bring Cleveland back to the top. And I think the greatest lesson I learned throughout that process was, it's not a lonely road that you're supposed to take on your own. And it takes a lot of help. And we had a heck of a team here that did something special that's forever sketched in NBA history. No matter what they say about me or anybody else, they have to talk about that team. They try to isolate me and say, well, Kai, what have you done since you left here? And it's like, it takes building a great team in order to accomplish something special, and I understand that. And I don't take this moment that I'm at right now for granted, because it took all those times for me to go through being here in Cleveland in order to achieve something special. And that's what I'm on the journey to do now, I feel, with this team here in Brooklyn. So Cleveland's never in the rear view, but it's definitely something I look back to remember what it takes to be a champion and how many years I had to endure and all the times of just dealing with all of this, what comes with it, and people doubting, and that's what makes me great, is just continuing to focus on what I do best and just letting my play speak for itself.
You made your debut 11 years ago tonight. What do you remember about that game?
I remember not being very good my first game. I was on Knuckleheads podcast when I talked about Jose Calderon being my first person that kind of gave it to me in the league, and I think he had a double-double. Of course, being in that position of a number one pick, you're expected to come out with this debut, which I didn't, and it's okay. I just believe in late bloomers sometimes are the best, and I'm blooming late in this league, and I'm okay with that as long as I got some good guys around me, some good friends, great relationships in the league that I could always look to for advice. That's all it's about now. It's just helping and winning ball games.
You're talking about building this team in Brooklyn as you guys are going. Just today, between Jacques and JB, you guys were talking about how this Nets team has seemed to turn around because the focus is entirely on basketball. Any other stuff outside seems to be put aside, and everybody's focusing on the task at hand. Would you agree with that assessment that that's kind of been the biggest key in your guys' turnaround?
I mean, for me personally, I think I just put myself aside at times and just trust what we got going on here and just allow the big picture to happen. Prepare myself every night for what role I'm playing and go from there and just live with the results. Any external negativity or praise, I really don't care about it. I think I'm just focused on being the best version of me and just letting the results play out based on how well we trust one another as a group.
Following a day off tomorrow, the Red Hot Nets will try to keep on rolling Wednesday in a visit to Trae Young and the Hawks. Coverage on Yes and the Yes app begins at 7 o'clock with the FanDuel pregame show. In the first meeting between Brooklyn and Atlanta, December 9th at Barclays Center, Kyrie and Kevin Durant combined for 67. They had 64 tonight, as the Nets held off a shorthanded Hawks team that fought very hard. Devin, they will not be shorthanded tomorrow night. DeJounte Murray is back in the lineup.
Yeah, we got the duos going against the duos.
Yeah.
I mean, Atlanta's been trying to figure it out. They've hit a couple of rough spots with some injuries, but they're going against a team that's very hot in the Brooklyn Nets, who have it rolling right now and have locked it in. It's going to be a good game, and obviously Trae Young never disappoints.
No, he does not. So Wednesday night, Devin and I will be back here in studio for the Nets and Hawks, and the Nets will be looking for their 10th straight win. That's all for the postgame show once again. Our final score from Cleveland: Nets 125, Cavs 117. Brooklyn extends its winning streak to 9 in a row. Remember, Wednesday's coverage of the Nets and Hawks begins at 7 o'clock. Now for Devin Harris and all of us here at Yes, I'm Chris Sheeran. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time.